What's up, everybody? Matt Nuzzo. We're here at Rio to do a wing versus wing. We got a wing off, people. So everyone's been like texting me, calling me up, hit me on Instagram. Hey, dude, which one's better? Naish S25 or Ozone Wasp? Which one's better? Which one's better? And I'm here to tell you that I don't necessarily have a preference of which one's better because they're very, very different. So I want to tell you what is different. I can tell you that these are by far the best two wings on the market. We've tested them all. We've been kind of through all the major brands, all the manufacturers that are putting these things out there. And these two are standouts amongst the product that's out there. There's a lot of great wings out there, don't get me wrong, but these two kind of separate themselves, and you'll see why as I go through the review. So first off, we've got a 5-meter Wasp and a 5.3 Naish. So looking at these two wings, they're about comparable size. I ride them in similar wind conditions. There's just basically the glaring obvious differences, okay? So this one has windows, you can see through it. This one has no windows, okay? Benefit of windows is that you can see through them. The benefit of full Dacron is that you get a really crisp, taut pump when you power the thing up. The windows do add a little bit of weight and stretch a little bit. That being said, Naish has got a really lightweight wing, so it doesn't make a huge difference. The straight Dacron canopy material makes for a really crisp, taut pump when you power up. Second is the frame configuration in strut and leading edge design. So this is like twice the size of a leading edge on the Ozone versus the Naish S25. And then same thing with the strut. The strut is gigantic, right? So what that means is that the Wasp has a very, very rigid frame, right? So huge leading edge, huge strut, gives you very little flex. You know, like that's basically their thing, is they're like, we want to have as little flex as possible, because what's happening with wings is that over time, just like kites, is that they're bagging out, they're stretching out, and you're losing power. So they said, let's make the frame as rigid as possible by using an oversized leading edge, putting some arc in it, oversized strut, and that's gonna make for a super rigid frame. The riding wise, how it feels is that the really heavy duty strut and leading edge, when you sheet in, you feel the power. It's like instant on power. With that really rigid frame and giant leading edge, it just sheets in, boom, gives you tons of power right off the bat. This, on the contrary, feels like you have no power until you start going a little bit, okay? So it just has a very different feel. This one feels a little soft in the air. Weight-wise, they both, you know, the Naish is a touch lighter, but weight-wise, they feel the same weight in the air. This just has that really solid, like, sheet in, boom, you got straight power, you just feel it right off the bat. This has a little more what I call phantom power, where you don't feel it until you start going, and then boom, all of a sudden you're powered and cruising and rolling. So it's a very different feel. This also is going to eat gusts a little bit. It's that little more flex in the frame, and then also the variable draft, it's going to eat gusts a little bit, where this is, you're going to feel those gusts. Again, it's just a personal preference type of thing. Like, it's not one is better or worse, it just has a different ride and different feel. One thing to consider when you are having a larger strut is that it takes a lot longer to deflate. Right, so the Naish is, because it's got a smaller strut and that big tube, it's going to deflate a little quicker. This one has just a standard size kite deflate tube, and it takes a while to deflate. Either of these, you got to kind of roll the strut up to get the air out of it first, but the Wasp is going to take a little longer to put away just because it's got more air in it. Next thing I want to talk about is the handles. Okay, so both have handles on the leading edge, handles down the strut. This has Y handles, Naish does not. I really like these Y handles a lot. It just, for hand position, it's great, and then when you're switching and jibing, you can change and not have to go to a handle on the set. You're not switching hands right on top of each other. I really like having those Y handles. On the Naish, you know, it doesn't have that, but it does have extra handles on the leading edge, so you can kind of use the leading edge handle. I just haven't quite gotten used to that yet. Also, the are a little more rigid, so they're a little more solid. So when you do pump it, you have a little more direct feedback because the handles are a little bit more solid. The Wasp has a little fatter handle, but a little squishier handle. So some people like the comfort in it. I do remember when I was starting, I was kind of like, man, these handles are a little soft, and you know, I kind of wish that they were more rigid. Now that I can ride, I actually like them a little bit softer. This is the Naish kind of did a good job of getting in the middle there, where it's a smaller diameter, but a more rigid handle. So they kind of have got a really nice setup. So it's again, it's a personal preference thing. I personally like the Y and have grown to like these handles, but jumping on the Naish, I was like, oh man, the handles feel like they're the right, like right off the bat, they felt really good, just comfortable, right diameter, and plenty of them. So, you know, having the handles all the way down is like super nice. You can kind of change your wingspan depending on what you're doing. If I'm overpowered, I'm bringing in a handle. Some people are riding that are taller and have a bigger wingspan are doing a wider stance. Some are bringing in smaller. So having that range of handles on both is definitely a very, very good plus. So next is wind range. Okay, so 5.3 to 5.0, they're having a very similar wind range. I've ridden them in kind of the back-to-back in the same conditions, and I found that the Wasp was a little bit easier going because I could feel that breeze. I could feel like, okay, I could feel that gust. It took a little less reading the wind because I could feel the gust, boom, power up because I could feel it in my hands and then get going. Whereas a Naish, you don't feel the gust or the wind as much. You basically have less direct feel than the Wasp is, so you have to read the wind a little bit more. That being said, it still goes in just as light of air, and they both go in higher wind, but in the high end of this, the Naish is eating the gust a little bit better, and the Wasp is translating that into more direct powered and forward speed. So again, the direct feel means that you're gonna feel everything on the low end and the high end, and the less direct feel means that it's gonna be a little bit smoother power delivery. It's gonna take a little bit more knowledge to get going the really light stuff, but it's gonna have a smoother power delivery on the top end. So not better or worse, it's just that different feel. For general riding performance, the upwind ability on the Naish is going to be a little bit superior than what I found on the Wasp. The Naish with the smaller leading edge allowed me to like point up a few degrees higher and get a little bit higher angle of attack than I was able to get on the Wasp. On the contrary, downwind, I had more power in the Wasp, so going off the wind felt a little easier and better to ride off the wind with the Wasp. You know, for turning, again, having that direct feel of the Wasp, it just seemed to be a little bit more balanced in the turn than the Naish. The Naish was very consistent. It's just, sometimes like when you'd feel like you'd lose the wing a little bit, which some people really like because then all the power turns off and they can just glide through the turn. I prefer to have a little bit of power and feel of the Wasp over having that kind of fully off of the Naish. One feature I did find was easier with the Naish was flipping it over. The smaller leading edge just allows you to just flip the wing over one way or another. With the larger leading edge of the Wasp, you have to really swing it and then flip it over to get it to engage and flip over for you. Once you know how to do it, the technique is there. I just found that the Wing Surfer from Naish was just like, it's so easy. It's actually the easiest wing I've ever used to flip over, so that was one feature that definitely stood out. In boosting, when you're jumping on these wings, I really like the Y handle for jumping. It just seemed to place the wing a little bit better over my head, so I seem to get better suspension from it. And then also that rigid frame seems to hold you in the air a little bit better. You can generate a lot of speed with the, like a lot of like really quick direct line speed with the Wing Surfer, so you can get a ton of pop off of it. It's just you have a little bit softer frame, so you're not going to have quite as much suspension over your head. And then riding waves, both of these things are awesome. They're really balanced in the air. I didn't have a preference on either of them. There's kind of no better or worse. Having this large center handle here is really nice because you can kind of just grab and make sure you get it. And then Naish has got the 3 handles. The center one's definitely the one you want to use when you're full depower. It's pretty easy to grab as well, but those side ones you're not going to be really using as much because you just, that's basically, if you're holding on the side wing, it's going to be flopping around like crazy, so you want to grab the thing from the center. Having ridden both these wings, I'm really fired up that I got both of them in my truck. I can't pick which one I like more because I'm riding them in different conditions, and when it's super gusty, the Wing Surfer's been awesome. When it's going to be like really on the low end and light, I've been liking the Wasp because I can just have that. I know when I can go, I've got that sheet in and go power. Overall, they're both very, very user friendly. Telling the consumer out there which one's going to be right for you depends on kind of what you're looking for in a wing. If you want to have that kind of sheet in and go, direct power, direct feel, the Wasp is going to be awesome for you. If you want to have that kind of gust eating, high performance speed, straight line speed, and up, the Naish Wing is going to be an awesome match for you. So very different products out there, but also really, really top tier, and we're stoked that both of them are real. If you have more questions, reach out online at realwatersports.com or give us a call at the shop, 252-987-6000. See you guys on the water.